When I got diagnosed with cancer, my son Bill and his wife fasted and prayed for me for days. They also researched various treatments, and they found some approaches that have really helped me enormously. So when Bill asked if I would fulfill a long-time goal of his, that of going to the Holy Land together to visit biblical locations, I was only too happy to accept. He also asked that I put on video some meditations on the 23rd Psalm to offer to other people who also are coping with cancer. So, here we are. It turned out to be one of the most memorable times of our lives. And our hope and prayer is that it might be meaningful for you as well in finding encouragement from this beloved 23rd Psalm. The authorship of the psalm is credited to King David. So when we arrived in the Holy Land, our guide Aryeh took us first to a hillside overlooking the valley of Elah. That is where the confrontation of David and the giant Goliath most likely took place. When we hear David's name, the first thing most of us usually think of is David facing that giant Goliath. So Aryeh took great delight in reenacting the event for us. He showed us how David would have left the camp, rushed down to the riverbed, gathered his stones, prepared his sling, and gone forth to take on the giant. As you faced the giant in your life, what happened here, as well as other places we're going to visit as we look at the 23rd Psalm, can give you so much encouragement. We're going to learn from a man who knew how to take on the giant and win. And that can be your story too. So I welcome you to our journey. But right from the very start, I've got to give a word of warning. This little psalm is really like a time bomb. It can explode the way you look at the world, at life, even yourself. So often we see it as just a spiritual sedative for use at funerals or for people who are very sick. And it serves well in those times and occasions, but we're going to see that it's so much more. We've called this a series for people with cancer, but you're going to find it addresses the issues of life for just about anyone. But for those with cancer, who are seeking healing, or maybe just strength to survive, I tell you, we have here a wonderful resource for dealing with our disease and our dis-ease. What we find in this most beloved of all Psalms is going to help people to get better, and it's going to help others to better live with their condition. I know something about cancer, and I know it firsthand, and more than I would like to. When I was a kid, my mom had recurring bouts with cancer that lasted over 5 years before she died. Later, my dad remarried, and 40 years to the month that my mom died, my stepmother also died of cancer. I was so close to both of these good women during their illnesses, even to the point of needing to assist them with basic functions of feeding and even caring for themselves. In the process, they became my heroes. I looked on them as like champion athletes. They went through their great difficulties without any bitterness. I had to just sit back and marvel at the way they grew close to God. And even their sense of humor deepened and changed. Now here's the interesting part. Both of them told me that when they were going into surgery for their cancers, it was the words of the 23rd Psalm that brought them through. Many others say the same. In fact, the 23rd Psalm has done more to bring courage to more people at more places at more times than any other words that have ever been written. Yet, it is only about 115 words long. You can say it in about a minute, maybe even less. And the psalm is actually a poem or a song. Think of it this way. It's the world's all-time top song. Today, rock stars, they come and go. But David and this psalm, they stand tall and unique as a song for all ages, 3,000 years after it was first written. And this psalm gently challenges the ways we look at life. It shows us a different way, and I think a better way. The psalm comes at us with a series of what I like to call jolters. For example, take the words, "I shall not want." This is nothing less than a pre-commitment to contentment. That cuts across a consumer culture that seeks to breed continual discontent in us. Or look at the jolter of, "I will not be afraid, even in the valley of the shadow of death." Or here's another jolter, welcoming discipline into our lives through the words, "Your rod and your staff." Now, there are others, as we're going to see, but these jolters are not there to unsettle us. In fact, they become our greatest source of comfort and courage. And that's what this song is going to pour into our hearts. And notice this is a powerful chemistry when comfort and courage mix together. They give birth to hope. And I'm here because I believe this series can fill you with new hope. It can happen. Let me give one word as to why I want to share these reflections with you. I told you about my mother's cancers, and I saw enough during their ordeals to know that I could never begin to go through what they did. And then, at a time in my life when I thought I was riding high, I get diagnosed with an advanced and an aggressive cancer. Frankly, it devastated me. I felt numb for days. The doctors said that the average lifespan for my stage 3B, and there are only 4 stages, is about 8 months. 15% make it 1 year, 1% last 2 years. As I stand here right now, it's now 3.5 years later. So you can understand when I say, I know I've been blessed. God's grace has spared me for now. I also know that it's not because I deserved any special kind of break. I know I've had more breaks in my lifetime than I could ever deserve. I can only conclude that maybe God still had some purpose for me on this earth. And as a career person in media, I could think of nothing that I would love to do and wanted to do more than to use this media vehicle to share with you reflections on the 23rd Psalm. So, my fellow travelers dealing with cancer and anyone else who cares to listen in, I welcome you to come with me and discover how this psalm can be for you an inexhaustible treasure, a source of comfort and courage that will give you deep and new hope. It can happen. Just wait and see.